What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Uberkooledgarage. On this week's episode, we're gonna hop back into Ryan's car and get this thing running. So I know it's been quite a while since I posted a video. The video editing software that I was using changed dramatically. It now costs a fortune to use that one. I have been trying to figure out what platform to actually edit the videos for or from. It's been quite a challenge. I've been through quite a few, haven't really liked any of them, so hopefully this one works out a little bit. I'm trying to still try and use a couple different ones, see which ones I like the best. This one so far seems okay. I have been super busy in my normal life. Outside of cars, been busy with work, trying to get everything situated and everything, so things are moving slowly at the moment, but hopefully things will start picking back up. I have a lot of updates and everything going on that I will explain to you guys later and show kind of everything that's going on and what the process of what I'm doing is going to end up looking like. So I'm working on everything. I'm trying to get everything situated and good and rolling in a good fashion. So thank you guys for sticking around. Very much appreciate it. So this video's got quite a bit of talking in it. Not very much work going on, but I explained quite a bit of what's going on. So hope you guys enjoy this video. Thank you guys. Well, I ended up going and picking up a sandblasting cabinet. So obviously a very modified Harbor Freight sandblasting cabinet. So we're gonna start sandblasting some stuff, start getting everything kind of set up and good for my own like personal shop. Try and start doing some of this stuff for a living, start making money off of it. So I went ahead and ordered an Eastwood foot pedal for the gun itself, which is cool. I took an old Shark vacuum and hooked that in for dust collection, which worked out pretty good. When I bought this, it was dirt cheap. Half of the stuff was all modified already. It was this big, large box, and he just hadn't put it quite all the way together yet, and he said he quit his job, so he took it with him. So I had to go through and pull all of the screws out of the whole thing and silicone all of the joints, put all the screws back in, do all that. The foot pedal is awesome. So if you look on the inside, got the gun in here. The Eastwood gun works super good. I might end up getting a bigger compressor in the future, but for now, the one that I have works. So this will definitely come in handy. That's it for the exhaust system. Everything looks really good. Love the way that it turned out. Everything's nice and clean. I think what I might end up doing is I might end up safety wiring some spots in the actual heat wrap. That way it kind of stays in place. Don't have to worry about it unraveling. Everything fits in super nice. Once the apron is on, you'll still kind of be able to see the part of the X pipe in there. So I think it'll look really cool when it's rolling down the road. It'll definitely give quite a few odd looks. People that don't really know that it's a 6-cylinder Subaru motor. So I think it'll be really cool once it's all said and done. So I know that I said that I was going to attempt to start this car Unfortunately, I have been fighting this thing for about a week and a couple days. We're having an issue with the ECU. It is a really, really old style ECU. You can't even really get the programming for it anymore. It takes a special serial cable and an older Windows computer to tie into it to try and get into the tune to figure out what exactly is going on. So we are getting fuel injectors are working, the starter's working. The only issue that I am having is I cannot get any spark in this thing at all. So I checked the whole system. I have 12 volts to the coil on plugs. I have a ground signal. I have RPM signal. I have all of that, and this thing will not spark. I have tried plugging in my coils out of my car because I know that they work. I've tried different spark plugs. I've pretty much been through everything. I've pinned out the entire ECU to see if maybe there was a loose wire somewhere. Nothing. So, unfortunately, with everything that is going on with this, I'm not going to be able to get it started on this ECU. So I have talked to Ryan. Unfortunately, he just bought, well, he didn't just buy this ECU, but he bought this ECU for this car, and it just seems to be no good. So we talked to Ryan. We ended up ordering a different ECU. So once that gets in here, we'll go ahead and get everything all wired up and calibrated up. So unfortunately, that means that this motor has to come out again. So the crank trigger for the sensor is in the back of the motor. I might be able to dig through old videos and count the teeth on that trigger. That way I can input it into the new ECU. If I can't find it, then I'm going to have to pull the motor, pull the clutch, pull the flywheel, count the number of teeth, and put all this back in. I'm also going to have to weld in a stainless steel bung for a O2 sensor in this car. That way we can tune it, get all of that set up, and I'm also probably going to have to put in a intake air temperature sensor in the system, which he ordered as well. So until we kind of get all that stuff, I'm gonna probably hop on sheet metal stuff and dig through videos and see if I can find the trigger wheel. I did end up finding a belt for this. The only unfortunate thing with that is this Subaru motor is a 6-rib belt. Well, nobody has 6-rib belts that are this small, so we went ahead and went with a 5-rib. So you can see it's missing one of the ribs there. So the 5-rib belt works out absolutely perfect. It's nice and tight, looks super good. So that's really cool on that end. And we'll just start on doing some sheet metal. One crazy thing to think about is this is all that's left out of that entire exhaust kit. Like, this is it. This is all that's left. There's just little tiny pieces of exhaust left, and actually a lot of these are just the collars. So it just goes to show how much piping actually went into that exhaust. It turned out absolutely incredible. I really like how it came out. You guys may be wondering, why I bought a sandblasting cabinet. That is because I went ahead and ordered powder coat. So got a whole powder coating system here. dual voltage. This is Eastwood's kind of nicer powder coater. So they were having a really good sale. Couldn't really pass it up. So got the gun. It came with the small oven. I have plans, and I have been collecting stuff to build a large oven, probably 6 foot tall, 4 or 5 feet wide by 4 feet deep oven. So that'll be really cool. And I went ahead and ordered some high temperature tape, a whole silicone plug kit. When I ordered the oven, I actually ordered some jet black powder coat, and then went ahead and ordered some clear powder coat to get everything nice and strong, UV and heat resistant on all of this stuff, which is awesome. And I went and got some candy cherry or illusion cherry red. So this one's got some super cool metallic flake in it. It's kind of a candy apple red color. It'll look really good on a couple bits and pieces of the bug. So once we get into the bug stuff, some really cool stuff is going to be happening with the bug. So stay tuned for that, guys. I'm starting to get really excited about hopping back into the bug and getting that car absolutely perfect. So let's keep pushing forward and start making some more parts. Well, we decided to ditch the old ECU. Very old technology. So we decided to go with this setup, which is a lot more modern and a lot more easy to work with. So we went ahead and went with a MicroSquirt. Very simple harness. Everything's labeled. Very simple. Went ahead and grabbed the air intake temperature sensor as well. So I'll get a pipe in the intake pipe and get that plugged in. Also went ahead and ordered the serial cable to USB. That way I can plug it into my laptop and actually be able to look at this ECU and all of the data logging and all of that stuff as well. I might end up downloading the same base map that I used on the bug and tweak it around to work with this motor. I'm pretty sure I have to pull the engine out of the car and pull the flywheel off to get a tooth count on the crank trigger. That way I can input that into the computer and the ECU knows when to spark and when not to. So that's kind of the biggest pain about this whole thing, is got to pull the motor again, but at least everything's kind of set and where it needs to be. The exhaust is done. So once I get that, hopefully it should be just in and out, quick and easy job. Crossing my fingers. Once I get that in, and then we'll slide the motor back in. We'll plug up some of these wires. I'm probably just going to temporarily just plug all these in to the old harness that came with the other ECU. It is actually really nice harness that they had made for this motor. So I'm probably going to use the majority of that and some of this to plug everything in together to make it work. Kind of combining the two into one. But I'll temporarily tie all this stuff in together, and then fingers crossed we get this thing running. Well, if you guys noticed on my list, I have installed springs and clips for the front brakes. One of the reasons that I hadn't gotten to that yet is because you can see here that there is a cotter pin that goes all the way across and a spring in between the actual brake pads themselves. Well, these cotter pins are Willwood specific. I cannot find any other pins that'll work.
And these pins or the cotter pins are pretty hard to find, and if you do find them, they're pretty darn expensive for what they are. It's seriously just a little tiny piece of metal. And another thing is one of the springs was gone too. So I was missing a cotter pin, and I was missing a spring. My solution to this whole scenario was to run down to Ace, go ahead and get 2 of these little C-clips there. Of course, it's not going to focus. Took a steel rod and drilled some holes into it. Slid those clips in there and then ran a spring, or bought 2 of the same springs. That way, got 1 for each side. So go ahead and get rid of this cotter pin. That's another thing is, cotter pins are very hard to reuse. If you ever have to change your brake pad or anything like that, you basically have to destroy the cotter pin in order to get it out. So this will be a nice, easy, fast solution. And then you don't have to replace it. So got it painted in some barbecue paint. That way it doesn't rust up and look gross in a couple weeks. So we'll go ahead and slide these in, clip them in, and we should be good on the front brakes. I'll finish bleeding them off camera, and the entire brake system should be done at that point. Alright guys, I'm going to explain my spaghetti mess here. I went ahead and pulled apart the loom on the new ECU. So I got the new ECU here. Spread apart the loom, pulled out the stuff that goes up towards the front, like the O2 sensor wiring, the main power, and the tack signal. So everything is just kind of strung out and tied in temporarily. So if we follow this back here, loops all the way back around, goes down into here, and his original wiring harness was actually a really nice harness. So what I'm gonna end up doing is I'm gonna merge the 2 together. Right now I just have wire nuts kind of holding everything in place, getting everything to where it needs to be. So I have the injectors tied into the injectors, all of that stuff. Went ahead and temporarily plugged in the intake temperature sensor. I have the shielded cables going up to the crank sensor and the cam sensor. After I know that all of this works, we'll merge both of these together, make them nice, clean, very simple, get everything where it needs to go. I just want to make sure that the car works before I finalize anything. I went ahead and have my wideband sensor and gauge hooked up in his car. I'll probably leave that in his car, that way he doesn't have to purchase one. So I'm gonna have to weld in a O2 or a wide bung or O2 sensor bung in the new exhaust. So unfortunately, I have been trying to start this car for about a week again, trying to figure everything out. I got a good sort of map in the actual tuning studios. So I basically have everything. Everything works the way that it needs to. I'm getting RPM signal. I'm getting spark. I'm getting all of this. The problem lies with the stock crank position sensor and that trigger wheel. So that trigger wheel, Tuner Studio, I cannot get anything to line up correctly. I am getting signal and all of that, but I can't get the timing and everything correct through the computer to function the motor. Everything is so close to starting. So my solution to that is this. I went ahead and ordered a new trigger wheel. This is a 36-1 tooth, which is 100% compatible with this ECU and the computer and the programming and all of that. Went out and picked out some stainless bolts with some spacers. And I have also made this bracket here. So this bracket is kind of multifunctional. This bolts onto the front of the motor. The trigger wheel will bolt onto the front of the crank pulley. And we have a VR sensor right there that'll pick up the actual trigger wheel. So you can see I have an idler on here as well. One thing that I did want to do was put a little bit more tension on the alternator belt. So that actually helps with that as well. I have made an aluminum mount for the actual sensor, and it is adjustable up and down. So the good thing is there's nothing magnetic here. There's nothing that's going to interfere with the actual signal. This is actually a chunk of stainless plate that I had laying around. So let's go ahead and get this thing bolted up, and I'll show you how everything turns out.
You said never let me go. 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 You
Jesus Christ.
finally runs. So I did get it to fire up, ran it for a couple minutes, noticed that it was very, very, very rich. It was actually so rich that it was dripping fuel out of the exhaust, where I need to put those clamps. So started looking into it a little bit more, figured out that we were only running on 4 cylinders. So we were running on the front 2 and the rear 2. The middle 2 cylinders were not firing. I think when we got the ECU, I had read some forums. People were saying I need to put a resistor in between 2 of the wires. I did put a resistor in there, but I think it might be the wrong size resistor. So I'm going to pull this apart again, unsolder the sensor or the resistor that's in there, and solder in the correct one. And hopefully, fingers crossed, that fixes the issue. And then we can get it running on all 6. And then after that, it's basically do a warm-up tune and kind of mess around with some of the other figures and all that in the system. And we should be looking pretty darn good. And then I can go ahead and clean all of this wiring up, get the throttle cable system back together, and do that off camera. I've been kind of working on the clutch pedal. I think I got that figured out. I'll kind of give you guys a walk around once I get that situated and set up. I'm also going to add a piece of metal onto the actual throttle linkage itself to extend it out away from the throttle pedal a little bit more, and probably get it in a different height on the pedal to give the pedal itself enough throw to open up the throttle body 100%. So I'm going to add that, and I'll show you guys that once I get all that stuff situated. And I'm going to add the intake air temperature sensor up into this pipe that's running right here. And I'm pretty sure that's going to be a steel pipe, and that will get bolted to the firewall, and that will stay with the car. And then the pipe will have connectors that go to both of that.
All right, guys, so that's all I have for you on this one. I really wish that I could have gotten the car running a lot better for the end of this video. Unfortunately, I'm still kind of dealing with the 4 out of 6 cylinder running thing. I've been trying quite a few different things to get this thing to work. I have a couple more ideas what to do. If those things don't work, then I'll reach out to probably the ECU company to see if maybe I'm doing something wrong. But other than that, I mean, the car is running. We're getting extremely close. I really, really just want to get this car done. That way Ryan can enjoy his car. So with me being so busy, I'm trying as hard as I can to get as much work done on his car as I can whenever I have time. So hopefully I can find a good editor to edit all my videos. That way I can keep them coming to you guys, and hopefully everything else kind of starts flowing along, and we can get back into a regular video rhythm. I know for sure that the bug I'll try and document as much as I physically can on the bug, try and get you guys some good information there. But for now, let's finish up Ryan's car, and we will see you guys on the next one. Thank you guys. Peace out.